Imagine a cold evening in England. The sky is gray-blue, and the last light is falling behind rows of brick houses. Somewhere rain touches a window. Somewhere a kettle begins to sing. In a small living room, a family sits close together. On the table there is tea. On the wall there is a scarf in red, blue, or white. Outside, the street is quiet. But inside, hearts are already awake. Sit with me for a while, and let's walk into this story together. Why does football feel so big in Britain? Why do people sing for it, argue about it, and carry it in their memories like something from home? How did a simple game with a ball become part of daily life, family life, and even national life? And why, after so much change, does it still hold people so strongly? Tonight, we will learn English through a real story told in simple and clear words. We will move slowly, step by step, and we will follow the long road of football in England, from rough local games to a deep and living tradition. If you are ready, my friend, look closer. Long before football became clean green fields, bright lights, and famous players, people in England already loved ball games. They were not always neat. They were not always safe. In some places, they were loud, wild, and full of pushing, running, and noise. A whole village might join. The game could move through streets, across open land, and past shops and homes. Imagine a town many years ago. There is mud on the road. There are boots, coats, shouting voices, and strong hands. The ball is not moving inside painted lines. There may be no clear rules at all. One side tries to move the ball one way. The other side tries to stop them. It is part game, part contest, part celebration. Why would people love something so rough? Because it was not only about winning. It was about feeling alive together. It was about town pride, local strength, and shared excitement. In a hard life, with long work and few comforts, a game could bring noise, laughter, and a break from ordinary time. For many people, this was not just sport. It was release. It was community. It was a little moment of hope. Listen to this phrase, a shared passion. That means something many people love together. And football, even in its early forms, was already becoming a shared passion. But there was a problem. These old games were hard to control. They could damage property. They could block streets. They could turn from play into trouble. So over time, people in power often looked at them with worry. Here is one of our first turning points. What happens when people love a custom, but rulers fear it? Does the custom die, or does it hide, change, and wait? Many historians note that old football-like games were sometimes restricted or pushed away. That may sound like the end of the story, but it was not the end. In fact, this pressure helped create something new. When a tradition cannot live in one form, it often finds another. It bends, but it does not always break. That is how football began to move from wild public play towards something more organized. Imagine school fields instead of crowded streets. Imagine younger players, teachers nearby, and rules written down instead of shouted in the moment. This changed the feeling of the game. It became less about chaos and more about shape. Less about a village rushing together and more about learning control, teamwork, and fair play. Fair play means honest and respectful play. This is how a rough custom slowly became a game people could teach, repeat, and carry from place to place. And that matters, because when rules are clear, a game can travel. It can grow. It can leave one town and enter another. It can move from memory into habit. Say it with me, little by little. Yes, little by little. Football was becoming something England could recognize across different places. Still, the old heart of the game did not disappear. The noise stayed. The pride stayed. The feeling of us and them stayed. The joy of belonging stayed. This was the bridge moment. Old customs were not erased. They were adapted. The wild energy of the past was given a new shape. The game became more orderly, but the emotion remained. And maybe that is one reason football stayed strong. It did not ask people to stop feeling deeply. It only gave those feelings a field, a rhythm, and a form. Imagine a boy walking home after seeing a match for the first time. His shoes are wet, his face is bright. He is still thinking about the pass, the shout, the near goal. He wants to play tomorrow. He wants to wear those colors again. He wants to belong to that sound. Is that only sport, or is it already becoming memory? Let's stay here for a moment. In England, football grew in a land shaped by work, weather, and local identity. People often felt close to their own street, their own town, their own people. So when football became more organized, it fit that feeling very well. A club could become the face of a place. A team could carry the pride of workers, families, and neighbors. A match could say, without words, this is who we are. That is why football in England was never only about the ball. It was also about home, and home is powerful. Home can be a house. Home can be a voice. Home can be a scarf kept for years. Home can even be a song sung with strangers who do not feel like strangers for 90 minutes. Imagine fathers and daughters, mothers and sons, old friends and new friends walking to a match together. Some are quiet. Some are joking. Some are nervous already. They carry food, stories, old habits. Maybe one person says, we always stand here. Maybe another says, my grandfather brought me when I was small. In that moment, football becomes more than a game. It becomes a thread between generations. Repeat after me, it feels like home. Simple words, but strong words. Now here is the surprising part. Football grew not only because people watched it, but because they could also play it. It needed little, a ball or something close to a ball, a patch of ground, a few friends, 2 points to aim at. That simple shape helped it spread. Rich or poor, young or old, many people could enter the game. And once a game enters ordinary life, how do you push it back out? You usually cannot. So football stayed. It grew in schools, in open spaces, in working neighborhoods, and in the hearts of people who wanted joy after long days. It gave excitement, but also order. It gave rivalry, but also tradition. It gave people something to wait for, talk about, and remember. The love was growing, the roots were growing deeper. And England was beginning to see football not as passing noise, but as part of itself. As football became more organized, something very important happened. The game stopped being only a local event that appeared now and then. It began to shape the week. It began to shape conversation. It began to shape time itself. People started to look ahead to matches the way they looked ahead to holidays, markets, or family visits. The game was becoming part of life's rhythm. Imagine a Saturday in an English town. The morning feels ordinary at first. Shops open. Buses move. People walk through the cold air with hands in pockets. But slowly, color begins to appear. Scarves, hats, shirts, undercoats. Little signs that say, without speaking, I am with this side. Why does that matter so much? Because people do not only want entertainment. They also want belonging. They want to feel they stand somewhere, with someone. Football offered that in a clear and simple way. You had your club. Your club had its colors. Its songs, its stories of loss and hope. Win or lose, you returned. And by returning, you became part of a living tradition. Listen to this phrase. Loyal through good times and bad. That is a very football phrase. It means you stay, even when things are hard, and football in England did have hard times. Growth is never smooth. A game can become popular, but popularity brings pressure. More people want to watch. More people want rules. More people want order, money, success, and control. So football had to change again. This is our second turning point. What happens when a people's game becomes big business, public culture, and public emotion all at once? Can it stay simple? Can it stay honest? Can it keep its heart? Over time, English football moved from open local play into clubs, competitions, and national attention. Some accounts say that as structure grew stronger, the game also became more serious. Matches mattered more. Results mattered more. Supporters began to carry not only pride but fear. The fear of losing. The fear of falling. The fear that your side, your symbol of home, might fail in front of everyone. That may sound heavy, but it is also human. The deeper the love, the deeper the feeling. Imagine a worker after a long week. His hands are tired. His back hurts. The world asks a lot from him. But then comes match day for a few hours. He stands with others and sings. His voice joins their voices. He forgets his worries for a little while. Or maybe he does not forget them. Maybe he carries them into the crowd and feels less alone. That is one reason football became so strong in England. It gave ordinary people a place to pour feeling. Not only joy, also worry, anger, pride, memory, and hope. Say it with me, we belong here. A simple sentence. But in football, that sentence can mean everything. Now let's look closer at another hidden reason. Football grew well in England because England already had strong local identities. Different towns and cities often carried their own character. People were proud of where they came from. So when clubs became stronger, They did not float in the air. They landed on deep feeling already waiting there. This is how a team shirt became more than cloth. It became a sign. This is how a match became more than sport. It became a meeting of histories, accents, neighborhoods, and ways of life. Imagine two nearby towns. They are close on a map but far apart in feeling. Families may work in different trades. Streets may sound different. Old stories may still shape how people see one another. Then comes match day. The rivalry feels sharp. Why? Because football gives old local feeling a stage. And yet there is something gentle here too. Rivals may shout, but they are still part of the same great tradition. The game holds difference inside a shared form. People disagree, compete, and dream inside the same 90 minutes. In that way, football can carry conflict, but also connection. Look closer. Even the pain has meaning. A lost match can stay in the mind for days. A missed chance can feel personal. Why would anyone choose that kind of heartbreak again and again? Because love that never risks pain is not love that goes very deep. And football, for many British people, goes deep. Imagine an older supporter sitting quietly after a match. Maybe the team lost. Maybe the room is silent. On the shelf there is an old photo. In the photo, he is younger, standing beside someone who is no longer here. They had gone to matches together for years. Now one seat is empty. But the club remains. The walk remains. The song remains. Football becomes a house for memory. It keeps the voice of the past alive. That is why the story is not only about sport. It is also about loss and kindness, and the strange comfort of repeated rituals. Wear the scarf. Take the same road. Meet the same people. Buy the same tea. Say the same hopeful words before kickoff. These small acts hold life together. Repeat after me. Tradition gives comfort. Yes, tradition can be warm. Tradition can be a kind of shelter. And football has one more special power. It is easy to talk about. After a match, everyone has a view. That pass was brilliant. That choice was wrong. The referee was too strict. The defense was sleeping. In homes, pubs, buses, schools, and workplaces, football gives people words. It gives them shared language. For English learners, this is beautiful too. The game is full of clear emotion and simple phrases. Win, lose, pass, goal, save, chance, crowd, song, hope, fear, pride. You can hear the heart of a people in these words. My friends, this is why football is more than a subject. It is a door into living English. When people speak about football, they are often speaking about life at the same time. Imagine a child kicking a ball against a wall at dusk. No crowd, no stadium, just a repeated sound in the fading light. Tap, tap, tap. The dream begins there, in ordinary places, not only on famous fields. That is important. The game belongs to stars, yes. But it also belongs to back streets, schoolyards, parks, and small hopes. And over time that made football feel close, not distant. Not owned by the rich alone. Close enough to touch. Close enough to dream. Now here is the surprising part. Even as football grew larger, louder, and more professional, many of its strongest feelings stayed small and personal. A hand on a shoulder after a loss. A parent teaching a child the club song. A quiet walk home after a draw. A radio voice in the kitchen. A lucky scarf. A promise to keep coming back. Why do these little things matter so much? Because this is how big traditions survive. Not only in great moments, but in repeated ordinary ones. Little by little, year by year, people pass football on. Not like a lesson, like a gift. And that gift carries more than excitement. It carries home. It carries hope. It carries the feeling that even when life changes, some songs remain. By the time football had fully settled into English life, it was no longer just a game people followed. It had become a language of feeling. People could speak through it. They could remember through it. They could argue, laugh, dream, and heal through it. And that is a powerful thing for any country to hold. Imagine a rainy evening after work. The street shines under weak yellow lamps. Someone opens a front door, steps inside, and hears the sound of a match already playing in the next room. A voice says, "Come in." It's starting. At once, the day changes. The room becomes warmer. The mood becomes shared. Football has entered the home again. Why has it stayed for so long? Why did it not fade like many other habits? How did one game keep such a strong place in British hearts? Because football kept answering human needs. It gave excitement, yes, but it also gave pattern. It gave community. It gave a safe place for strong feeling. It offered a tradition people could enter at any age. A child could begin with a soft ball in a garden. A grandparent could continue with stories, songs, and memory. Few things move so easily across generations. Imagine that line of time. A grandfather listened on the radio. A father stood in the cold at the ground. A daughter watches on a screen but still wears the same colors. The tools change, the feeling stays. This is how a tradition lives. It changes form but keeps its heart. That is another bridge moment in the story. Old ways are not simply lost. They are carried forward with new meaning. The voice on the radio becomes the voice from the television. The local field becomes a global stage. The small club story meets the modern world. But still, in many homes, the question remains very simple. Are we playing well today? Listen to this phrase. The heart stays the same. That is true for football in England. The world around it changed, but the heart stayed the same. Of course, modern football can feel very different from the old local game. It is larger now, faster, brighter, more commercial. That means business is part of the story too. Money, media, travel, and world attention all changed the game's surface. Some supporters welcome this. Some feel uneasy about it. Many historians note that this tension is now part of football life in England. What happens when a game belongs to the world, but people still want it to feel local? Can something be global and still feel like home? That question lives inside modern football all the time. Imagine a huge stadium filled with noise, cameras and lights. The game is watched far away by people who have never visited that city. And yet, somewhere in the crowd, one person is thinking of a parent who first brought them there. Somewhere, another person is standing in the same area where their family has stood for years. This is the strange beauty of football. It can grow enormous, but still feel intimate. That is why love for the game survives change. The outside may become modern. The inside remains deeply human. Say it with me. Hope returns every week. This may be one of football's greatest powers. No matter what happened last match, hope comes back. The season can be hard. The table can look ugly. Your side can disappoint you. And still, when the next match comes, something in the heart opens again. Maybe today, maybe this time, maybe now. Isn't that more than sport? It feels a little like life itself. You fail, you wait. You return, you believe again. Football teaches that rhythm without trying to sound wise. It simply lives it. That is part of why British people love it. The game fits the emotional shape of ordinary life. Work can be hard, weather can be cold. Days can feel repeated. But then comes the match, and with it, new possibility. Imagine a supporter leaving the stadium after a win. The night air is sharp, but no one seems to care. Faces are bright. Strangers speak like old friends. The train ride home feels lighter. Even the city feels different. A good result cannot fix every problem. But for a little while, it can bring warmth, laughter, and shared hope. Now imagine the opposite. A painful loss, heads down, quiet voices. Yet even then, people still return next time. Why? Because football is not loved only when it is easy. It is loved because it becomes part of identity. And identity is not thrown away after one bad day. My friend, this is where the story becomes very gentle. In the end, football in Britain is not only about goals, cups, or famous names. It is about people making meaning together. It is about carrying tradition through change. It is about finding home in songs, colors, roads, and repeated acts. It is about memory sitting beside hope. Repeat after me. We carry it together. That may be the deepest truth of all. A person can watch alone, of course. But even then, they are rarely fully alone. They are connected to others who wore the same colors before them. To others who are watching at the same time. To voices from the past. To children not yet grown, who may one day ask, why do we support this team? And then the story begins again. Imagine that question being asked in a warm kitchen, while rain taps softly outside. An older voice smiles before answering. Not with facts first, not with a lesson, but with a story. Because that is how love is passed on. Not as information, as feeling. And maybe that is why football belongs so strongly to England. It grew from local ground, but it reached the heart. It changed shape, but kept tradition. It became public, but stayed personal. It gave people a place for pride, for grief, for kindness, and for hope. So when you hear the songs, see the scarves, or feel the hush before a match begins, remember this. You are not only seeing a sport. You are seeing a long human story about belonging. And maybe, in your own life too, there is something like that. A habit, a meal, a song, a walk, a weekly ritual that brings people close and makes the world feel a little more like home. Hold that thought gently, because sometimes the things that look simple from the outside are carrying whole generations of love on the inside.